Hey guys, Justin Boyson here, Prosperity Prospecting. In today's video, it's going to be a little bit longer and a little bit more comprehensive than normal. So what we're going to do today, the last bit of ore that I brought back from this trip to Colorado a couple weeks ago is about probably 2.5 gallons of degraded quartz. A little bit of bedrock mixed in it too. But we're going to crush this down. It's only 2.5 gallons and it's pretty small stuff, so I'm just going to use my small K&M crusher. It's not worth getting the big one out for this a little bit, but with that said, we're going to go through every step. So we'll show you part of the crushing, we'll show you the ore, we'll show you what we do with that ore with the gold strike, and follow that up with the gold hog, so that you get a pretty comprehensive take kind of on what we do with this ore when we get back. And we'll show results, good or bad. We don't know what to expect on this. I don't expect much because it was pretty close to the surface. It's not safe to go in the adit yet, but we're going to make it safe and build some structure in there to make that safe so that we can get in there and get some better ore. But the ore we're going to be running today is what you see right here. It's about 2.5 gallons. That's all quartz that is pretty degraded, but really nice looking veins. I can't wait to get deeper in there where it wasn't leached out by the weather and the conditions, things like that. So with that said, we're going to pause the video for now, and the next one you'll see we'll actually be doing a little bit of crushing. See you guys in a minute. So first I wanted to cover just a couple of modifications that I did on this last rebuild of the K&M crusher, just to try to get a little bit more time and efficiency and less overhead to run it. I was going through chains about every week, so I went in there and made some modifications to that. I also made a couple of other modifications that's made it easier to use, such as I added casters to the legs that I bought with the crusher that K&M builds. I went in here and put some really high heat beads of weld on the end of the chains to cover up the rebar, which is pretty soft, but the results so far have been awesome, and I'll cover a little bit more about that here in just a second. But last thing I wanted to show you is, I don't know if this is normal or just a mistake, but you can see that they cut the gasket way too short on this. It goes all the way around to keep the material inside there, and they cut it way too short, and they had it right up here at the top. So I always had material that would run down both sides. So what I did is, when I was doing this rebuild, I just thought it made more sense to put it down where that it runs into the bucket that I've already got there. And then the last thing is I did go to the larger hole on the plate itself, so that it doesn't clog up near as often and runs a little bit longer and quicker. So, but the most important thing with that is some of it I do have to run twice. So the change I made when I put the larger screen on there is I started running an 1/8 inch classifier on top of my bucket right here, because the gold strike, which is the next step after I crush it, the biggest material it'll accept is an 1/8 inch. So so those are some of the adjustments I made. We're fixing to do some crushing, and we'll just go from there. But anyways, hope you like this video. There's going to be a lot that goes into it. I am going to go slower than I normally do, be a little bit more detailed than I usually am, and I am going to show results at the end. So I appreciate you guys watching. See you on the next one. this is how much out of that bucket I got to recrush. I'm a little bit bigger than what the gold strike likes. So I'm going to run this through, and then we'll move on to the next step. See you guys in a second. Okay, so we got the run of crush done. We're going to see how much material we wound up with out of that 2.5 gallons. So let's kind of see how it weighs. There's not going to be enough here, of course, to do a real test, but at least we'll have some fun and hopefully capture a little bit of gold and a little bit of silver. So here we go. So we are at 0 right now. We're going to pick it up, put it on the scale. So we've got 33.46 pounds that we're going to run. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how we set up start to finish on the gold strike, and then we'll run some material through it. So see you guys in the next one. So the first thing we're going to do here on the gold strike is we are going to just put the deep V matting into the sluice run, and that's all it is just simply deep V matting. I don't catch anything here anyways, but I always set it up just in case. The machine is very efficient at catching the precious metals that you run through it. So this is just a fourth chance, just in case something goes wrong, and it does wind up there. And then on this, all it is just a kitty litter bucket that I just cut a slot here, so that as it runs in here, the water's going to run out, and if there are any heavies, they're going to stay in here. I don't ever catch anything in here either, but it's just the way it works. So we're going to set that in there. That's it as far as the sluice run. Now we're going to move on to the pump itself, getting it primed and water flowing. So we're going to, I just had to replace this pump last run, and the only one I had in stock is not quite enough, but it gets me by until my bigger pump shows up. So pump's running. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not, but I'm now going to open the valve so that water will start flowing. You see the clean water right now coming out because I haven't run any material in it. You always want to leave this lid on when you're doing that because it builds up pressure in here, and if you don't have this on, it'll shoot water out of there big time and flood the shop. So what we'll do is we'll brush this down. Looks like we might be a little bit unlevel. We'll fix all that. You guys don't need to see that, but another important step that I do want you guys to see is now that we have the water flowing, we do need to take the cap off, not just so that we can see material. We also need to take it off because we need to get some Dawn dishwasher soap in. This recommends Dawn as opposed to jet dry because of the oils on your hands, and this catches such fine gold, it's very likely to float. So that's what they recommend, and so I go with what's recommended on this machine because it's definitely unique and it's definitely effective. So I'm going to do some adjustments on the sluice. I'm going to do some adjustments on the water level. I need to add some water, and I'll brush the mat down to make sure there's not any bubbles in there that'll make the gold float. And then our next video will be actually running material. See you guys in a second. All right, so see my bucket of material there. And over here, where I always keep my Dawn, but most importantly, right here is where we're going to feed the material, okay? So I'm not going to show you a whole lot of this because it's boring and mundane, and it's the same thing every scoop, but we're just going to pour it in there. This machine will run very fast. I tend to run it a little bit slower myself, not because the machine can't handle it, but it stirs up a lot of dust when I'm feeding it dry. And my office for my other business is right over there, and it just creates a lot of dust if I'm trying to run this, and it creates a lot of back end work for me on other things. So That's the only reason I feed it slow. So we're fixing to go over to the outlet over there that goes into the V-mat, and you'll see how it changes the color of the water. Now you can see the water's getting dirtier. Now this type of material is not as dirty as it normally gets because it's a pretty clear base of rock anyways. It's just got some mineralization color in it. But you can see it's changing the color of the matting and changing the color of the water. And I'm just going to do that until that bucket's gone. And then we'll go to the next step. See you guys in the next one. Okay, so now we have run all the material. And it's time to slowly but surely start to clean out, which takes a little bit with this machine. Got to do each valve a couple times, some of it 3 times. So you can see that the water here is not as clean as it was when we first started, but that's just because it's just started. It'll be clear again here before too long. Matt has some material stuck in it. And what we're going to do now is come over here and shut that water down right here, which kills it there. And then we're going to go to this first valve, valve number 1, which is going to be the bigger of the material. Let's get you down here where you can see that. I'm going to open this valve up. And then I'm going to reverse what I did on the air last time. And here it comes. Here comes the material. So we'll let that one run. Valve 1 has a lot of material in it usually, especially when it's crushed material. I'll show you guys valve 2 and valve 3 so that you know how much material comes out of those. So see you on the next one. Okay, so this is how much material came out of the first valve on the first flush. Let's see about how tall that is. You get your water bottle comparison. I'd say that's probably a gallon, gallon and a half. So that's probably about a gallon of material. Now we're gonna, I do run the water again once I empty that to get everything good and where it needs to be before I shut it down. Now that I've shut her down, let's go to valve 2. Let's do the same thing on valve 2. Valve 2 obviously will have the second most amount. I usually don't get a whole lot out of valve 3 unless it's super fine material, which means I would put my other plate in the crusher so that it forces it to get much smaller before it comes through. Okay, so here we'll go with valve number 2. You can see that the material is much finer, but not as fine as what comes out of 3. You'll see it'll turn to pretty much nothing but water here shortly because it's emptied. Once it starts speeding up like that, it's getting pretty close to being empty. Let it run for a second longer. I'm trying to let you guys see how I shut her down on one of them that don't take so long like valve number 1 does. That's quite a bit of material for number 2. A lot of that's probably the stuff I ran through twice. Got it a little bit finer. And that's actually quite a bit for valve number 2 compared to normal, so hopefully there's some good stuff in it. So I hope you guys can see that okay. It's a really awkward position to be here trying to do that, so if it goes much longer I'm gonna have to shut her down and get another can. There we go. So now I shut her down where it don't overflow, turn the valve off, empty the water out, and I'll show you what we got left after that. So you'll see in this one that actually there was almost as much material in valve number 2 as there is in number 3, which is unusual, but you just never know. Depends on the type of material you're running. So again, there's one, there's two, so there's not a whole lot of difference in what was in there. So let's get in here and we're going to shut down the water again. Then we're going to go to valve number 3, and this one should be pretty quick. This usually always has the least amount of material in it. You can see some fine stuff coming out already. I hadn't even turned the air on yet. Here we go. That's it. She's empty. So that's all that was in there. Get this valve shut off. Okay, I'm going to empty the water and I'll show you how much is in it. So this is all the material that came out of this port number 3. You can see it's just barely covering the bottom as compared to the 2 and the 1. So what we're going to do now is we're going to let the water run here for a little bit, because I'm going to do some cleanup on the Gold Hog, and we're going to run all this material through the Gold Hog and see what we wind up with in the end. I'll see you guys on the next one. Okay, I've got you guys on my tall tripod right now, so it's going to be a little bit awkward moving this around, but I just want to kind of show you where we're at. Went through and cleaned up all of the snake, including the drain pan. Just a little bit of suds in there. Fresh water, ready to run. The material that you've got to see me crush and run through the gold snake. So I'm going to set you guys right over here and let you watch this run for a little bit. And I'll move you down to the other end here shortly so you can see it coming down the mat. So here we go. I don't know if you can see that, but I got a pan right here to catch the cons, to keep the water that the pump is getting clean longer. So that way y'all can see the mat a little bit better there, I think. So everything else on this step is just feeding it. So this machine does a great job. This is the second mat. The silver gold strike gets through the material that this would get through on the first mat, so I don't even need that first mat. Got it at about a 3.5 degree pitch. So I'm going to finish running this material. The next video that you see will be panning what little bit is left, and hopefully there'll be some precious metals in there. I'll see you guys in that one. material that's coming out of this can is the stuff that come out of port 3. It's so fine, I generally don't like to run it through the goat hog, just port 1 and 2. So I'll put it all in here, and then we're gonna pan it out, see if we got anything. Again, our expectations are not that high, but it is you got to do the testing process. So can't wait to get that adit supported, get up in there and get to the part where, you know, the material hasn't been leached out through the weathering process. So we'll kind of take our time a little bit on painting this out, because what's left is pretty fine. Just want to make sure I don't wash any more out than I have to. I do save all of my cons though, and I just let them pile up, and eventually I run them through a big machine all at one time, and what comes out of the machine again is cons, and I'll smelt it. And so we don't, when it comes to the end of our process, we just don't lose much. We lose some, everybody loses some, but we don't lose much. So happy with our percentages that we get. Just a little bit further down, and we'll see if we got anything. That's about as far as I want to go with that. So let's take a look here. Piece of silver right there. I don't know if you can see that. Piece of gold right there. Hope you can see that. Right now we're just kind of painting it back to see if we got anything. We'll go through a longer process to extract it all out of there, but I at least wanted to get on the video for you guys what we're getting, if anything. Well, I do not add gold to my cons unless I'm testing a machine. Then I do, because I want to have a controlled amount in there. But when I'm doing this, I don't pad it to make the video look better. It is what it is. So I don't know if you can see that, but there's a lot of silver all the way through here, starting to pile up. I haven't seen any more gold yet, which I'm not surprised. It's heavy, so it leaches out pretty quickly. And then I've got a really nice fine line of silver up top there. That whole line is silver, and this is all silver mix. It's got a bunch of silver in it. So we did get some precious metals. Not disappointed at all. But hopefully when we get in there, there'll be a whole lot more than that. Thanks for watching.